It started on a quiet Saturday morning, the kind where you just want to enjoy your coffee, tend to your garden, and forget about the chaos of the world. I had just moved into my new house 3 weeks earlier, a modest 2-story home at the edge of a suburban community managed by one of those infamous HOAs. The kind where everyone knows everyone's business, and one person in particular makes sure of it. Her name was Karen Whitmore. Karen was the self-appointed eyes and ears of the neighborhood. Not the WA president, no, even they avoided her, but she acted like she owned every inch of asphalt, every patch of grass, every drop of rain that dared to land without her permission. She had already complained twice about the improper angle of my mailbox and once about my American flag being too large and potentially obstructive. I brushed it off. After 18 years in the military, 5 tours overseas and 2 medals I never asked for, I'd learned patience and control. But that patience was about to be tested. That morning, I decided to wash my truck. It's a heavy-duty black Ford F-250, military edition, one I'd customized myself. The truck's long chassis made it tough to fit fully in my narrow driveway, so I parked partially across the sidewalk, on my property, while I scrubbed it down. Not 5 minutes later, I heard the sound. Click, 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 the sound of a phone camera. I turned to see Karen standing at the edge of my driveway, her manicured nails wrapped around her phone, snapping pictures like she was documenting a crime scene. "Excuse me," I said, calmly. "Can I help you with something?" She didn't even flinch. "You're blocking the sidewalk. That's against WA regulations and city ordinance." "I've got it all on camera." I put down the sponge. "This is my driveway, ma'am. I'm not obstructing anyone." "Wrong," she barked. "You think just because you bought a big truck you can do whatever you want. This is a community, and I enforce the rules here." I wanted to laugh. Enforce? Like she was the law. "Ma'am," I said, wiping my hands, "I've read the local code. Temporary obstruction on private driveways isn't a violation." She sneered. "We'll see about that." Then she dialed 911. Right there, in front of me. "I'd like to report an aggressive man blocking a public walkway," she said into the phone, raising her voice for the neighbors to hear. "Yes, he's being threatening." Threatening? I hadn't moved a muscle. I felt my jaw tighten, but I stayed silent. Let her dig her own hole. 10 minutes later, 2 police cruisers pulled up. Lights flashing, engines humming. Karen stepped forward eagerly, waving her arms. "Officers, over here. That's him. That's the man." The officers, one young, one older, approached me cautiously. "Sir," the older one said, "we got a call about a disturbance and possible obstruction of a walkway. Mind telling us what's going on?" I smiled slightly. "Sure thing, officer." Karen cut in before I could speak. "He's been yelling, threatening me, and refusing to move his vehicle. Look, he's blocking the sidewalk." The younger cop looked uncertain. "Sir, can you show me your ID?" I nodded and reached for my wallet. Of course. When I handed it over, the older officer's eyes flicked down, then back up at me. His posture straightened immediately. He cleared his throat. "Colonel Nathan Miles," he read softly. The younger cop blinked. "Wait, Colonel." Karen froze mid-smirk. "Yes, ma'am," I said, turning to her, calm as ever. "United States Air Force, Special Operations Division. Retired, but still serving as an advisor. Anything else you'd like to report about my driveway?" Karen's jaw dropped. I didn't realize." "That's usually the problem," I interrupted. "People don't realize before they act." The older officer coughed politely. "Colonel, sorry for the misunderstanding. You're well within your rights here. No laws broken." He turned to Karen. "Ma'am, I'd advise you not to make false claims. That's a serious offense." Karen's face flushed red. I didn't mean." But it was too late. The neighborhood had gathered, heads peeking from porches and behind curtains. The Queen of Rules was being lectured by law enforcement in front of everyone. I thought that would be the end of it. But I underestimated how deep Karen's obsession went. The next morning, I found a note taped to my mailbox. "Greater than, your presence is disruptive. People here value peace and conformity. You should consider moving." No signature, but I knew the handwriting. 2 days later, I received an HOA notice, claiming I was violating community standards for excessive vehicle size and unapproved exterior flags. She was retaliating. I didn't get angry. I planned. You see, one thing the military teaches you: never fight emotion with emotion. Fight it with strategy. I called the WA directly and requested a meeting. Not an email. Not a letter. A meeting. I brought my folder, a thick one, filled with zoning maps, federal veteran protections, and property codes. When I walked into the WA conference room, Karen was there, sitting stiffly beside 3 board members. She looked confident, even smug, as if she expected to humiliate me. I smiled. Morning, everyone. The president, Mr. Daniels, began. Colonel Miles, we received several complaints. From one individual, correct? I interrupted. Daniels hesitated. Well, yes. Good. Let's clarify a few things then. I opened the folder and laid out printed documents. According to state law, vehicles under 10,000 pounds registered for personal use are permitted in residential zones. My truck weighs 8,400. It's legal. Karen's lips thinned. And regarding my flag, I continued, federal law, United States Code, Title 4, Section 5, protects the right to display the American flag. Any attempt to restrict it is a violation of federal statute. Silence. I looked directly at Karen. Now, I've served under that flag for nearly 2 decades. I've seen men die for it. So if you have a personal issue with it, that's your business, but it won't be mine. The room was dead quiet. Even Mr. Daniels seemed uncomfortable. Then he cleared his throat. Colonel, you're absolutely right. The WA will withdraw any notices you received. We apologize for the misunderstanding. Karen tried to speak, but Karen, Daniels said sharply, you've overstepped your bounds. For the first time, I saw her speechless. I nodded, gathered my papers, and walked out. But my plan wasn't done yet. That weekend, I hosted a neighborhood barbecue, open invitation. I brought out the grill, set up tables, even rented a bounce house for the kids. About 30 neighbors showed up. Some admitted they'd been intimidated by Karen for years. One man said she'd reported him for leaving his Christmas lights up too long. Another said she demanded he repaint his door because it clashed with the aesthetic. By sunset, people were laughing, eating, connecting, something that hadn't happened in that neighborhood for a long time. And Karen, she stood across the street, watching from behind her blinds, furious that she couldn't control it. That was the real victory. Weeks passed. Things quieted down. Karen kept her distance, though occasionally I'd catch her glaring from her porch. One afternoon, as I was mowing the lawn, she marched across the street. For once, her voice wasn't loud, it was shaky. Colonel, she said, I wanted to apologize. I didn't know who you were. I turned off the mower. You shouldn't have to know who. Someone is to treat them with respect. She looked down. You're right, I was just trying to keep order. Order doesn't come from fear, I said. It comes from understanding. She nodded slowly and walked away. That was the last time she ever bothered me. Months later, the WA board quietly replaced her Community Watch position with a rotating volunteer group. The neighborhood felt freer, lighter. And every morning, when I raise my flag before sunrise, I think about that day, the day Karen called the police because I blocked my own driveway, and I smile. Not out of pride, but out of peace. Because some battles aren't fought with weapons. They're won with patience, honor, and the quiet power of knowing exactly who you are.